Good morning. Welcome to Washington Live, powered by KCTC. I'm your host, Diana Rich, and I'm joined in the studio with our producer, Nick Steffens. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
How are you?
Tired. The weekend went by way too fast.
I know, it always does.
Yeah.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been since before the 4th.
I know, yeah.
So it's been over a week.
Before. This is the first time I've seen you in July.
Oh my gosh.
Can I
It's
put it
July
that way?
10th.
I know. That's wild. Did you
well-
enjoy your 4th of July and the awkward Tuesday holiday?
Yeah, didn't really do much. I was just a cranky old man being mad at fireworks. That's kind of what all I did.
That's how you roll.
Yeah, how about yours?
Yeah, it was good. We spent a lot of time camping and boating, which I don't normally camp,
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of exhausting for me. But yeah, it was fun. It was good. The
And
holiday
more-
on the Tuesday kind of threw my whole week off, but I'm not
Yeah.
complaining. I'll take a holiday whenever I can
That's
get it.
true.
So
More baseball, I assume, over the weekend.
you know what? Baseball ended at the end of June, so,
Oh, that's nice. So you had
so
it.
I feel like the summer began. So
That's-
yes, I miss baseball, but happy that we're on to other fun summer
Yep.
things.
I was going to say, I highly doubt that means that there's nothing to do.
No, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Still plenty to do. Lots of things going on. So, coming up later in the show, I'll be joined with Sandra and Terry. We'll be talking to them about the history of Mills Seed Company and some upcoming events that they've got going on there. So, looking forward to speaking with them. But first, let's take a look at the weather. It's 87 degrees and sunny outside. I haven't even looked at the forecast for this whole week yet, but
I think it's supposed to be fine. I don't know.
should be nice. Not too hot for you.
Yeah.
And let's take a look at the local events. Looks like July 11th, there's a Live After 5 at Purposefully You Boutique and Home at 5 p.m. Join them for food, drinks, and deals. There's a Paint Your Pet at the library event on July 12th at 1 p.m., and that's for 3rd through 5th graders. So check out the library for more information on that. The Summer Matinee Series at the State Theater here in town has started this month of July. One of, I know my kids, one of their favorite things, going to the movies for free, or maybe that's my favorite thing because they never pay. They always go for free. But The Mummies is showing at the State Theater 12th and 13th this week, and then there's movies playing the rest of the month on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I believe, there. So make sure to check that out. And I think there's two showings for those. You can pick up tickets at local merchants in town. Let's see here. We have the Meraki Crafted has a Dino Paint Night on July 13th from 5 to 8 p.m. Also on the 13th is the Chalk the Walk around the square from 10 a.m. to noon. So lots going on. Those were some of the Main Street highlights. And let's see here. For the chamber, they have listed also the Big Band Theory, which is July 15th. From 7 to 9 p.m. at the Washington Area Performing Arts and Events Center at the Washington High School. Come check them out as they're joined by the middle and high school jazz students. There's a free will offering at the door. So again, the 15th from 7 to 9. And then next week, the Washington County Fair starts. So make sure to check that out. I'm sure we'll have more information on that as well. So are you
Yes.
a fair goer, Nick?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a fair goer. I'm gonna try and get out this year.
I was checking out. Somebody had shared. They shared on Facebook the food vendors and their menus, and that's definitely what I'm most interested
I was gonna say,
in.
I guess like funnel cakes and all that stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like the livestock. I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that's a big cow, but I don't know anything about it,
Right.
so I'm just more there for the food.
Yes, same here. So make sure to check out the fair next week. Washington puts on a great fair, so that's it's awesome to have. And next, we'll take a look at the police report. 24 traffic calls, 9 animal calls, 6 firework calls, 5 calls for suspicious activity, 4 sex offender checks, 4 arrest warrant calls, for a total of 81 total calls on the police report. And Nick picked out the lowlights for us here to run through. We have an animal loose on Wayland Road in Washington. Reports goats loose along the highway. 92.3 responded and located the owner of the animals.
Yeah,
Happy ending.
we had goats for the first time the other week, and now second time already.
Back. We should start keeping tally. We have a property call in Washington, property recovered call. Caller reports a vehicle has been parked in front of their house running for several hours. They do not believe it's occupied. 106, 109, and 92.9 responded. It has been reported stolen out of Iowa City. The vehicle owner was notified and requested it to be towed. Morse Towing was contacted and removed the vehicle. Morse Towing called back later to advise the owner decided to come and get the vehicle himself.
I wonder how far away the person was
So someone stole the vehicle, left it somewhere running.
for hours and never came back.
Interesting.
Maybe they just needed it to a certain point.
Like a
and-
free Uber ride.
Yeah. Well, unless they get caught, then it's probably going to be very
Another happy
expensive.
ending.
Yeah.
Animal barking dog call in Washington. Caller reporting a barking dog. This is an ongoing issue. 106 responded and spoke with the owner, who advised it is a new dog and it barks at the raccoons in the yard. She was advised of the complaint and will try to keep it down. Documented.
Good.
Dang
It's just taking care of its yard,
That's right.
marking its territory.
My dog has been barking at raccoons in our yard too, but we live in the country, so it wasn't me.
Yeah.
We have an animal loose call in Washington. Reports cow along the roadway. 92.9 responded, and cows were returned home. Another happy
Yeah,
ending.
another happy ending. But this is also like, I wonder if it's the same cow that was last week as well. That
So-
was just walking down the side of the street.
So today's highlights of the police report were loose goats, barking dog, loose cow, and running car.
Yes. Like, it was an uneventful police report. There's a lot of things that happened, but as far as things we can talk about, just a lot of loose animals.
All right. That's all we have for the police report. We're going to head to commercial break, and when we get back, we'll talk to Sandra and Terry about the Mills Seed Company.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
When you aspire to be a dancer, you are both an artist and an athlete. Your strength combines with beauty and grace seamlessly. Your efforts result in enhanced coordination, the ability to cooperate and compromise with others, and the confidence to perform in front of an audience. Not to mention the fun you will have and the lifelong friendships you will develop. We are enrolling now for fall classes, and we would love to see you shine like the star that you are. Join us for Dance and Tumbling at Stairway to the Stars. Please visit our website for online registration.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a type of care that focuses on living. Servicing a 7-county area, the Hospice of Washington County staff of nurses, social work, hospice aides, spiritual and grief support, volunteers, music and massage therapists are able to provide free end-of-life care where the patient lives. We write wills, give consent for organ donation, but rarely is there a plan for what we would want the final phase of our lives. At Hospice of Washington County, we encourage our patients to be in charge of their healthcare decisions while maintaining quality of life.
Family owned and operated by Andy and Sarah Ross. Ross Auto has been your vehicle repair and maintenance headquarters since 1935. We specialize in all makes of cars and light duty trucks. With our variety of available services, let us help you keep rolling and your vehicle operating efficiently. Services include general auto repair, alignments, brakes, fuel injection, and more. Schedule your appointment today at 319-653-5656. That's 319-653-5656.
Hey, Emmy. How do you organize a space party?
How?
You plan it.
Plan it.
Welcome back to Washington Live. I'm your host, Diana Rich. I'm joined in the studio with Sandra and Terry from Mills Seed Company. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing?
Great.
Recovering from a long week at the lake.
Okay. How was that?
Warm.
Very warm. Yes. Well, better than cold and rainy, I suppose, right? Well, thanks for joining us today. So you guys, how are you guys involved with Mills Seed Company?
Home away from home?
Yes. I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting following goats and cows here.
Hard. Yeah, right?
We are the primary caretakers of the building.
Okay.
And if you'd like, I'll tell you a little bit of the history of the building.
Yeah, please do.
That's what's intrigued us for several years now, actually 10 years since it was moved. So in 1887, Frank B. Mills was a young guy in Rose Hill, New York, and he had a hobby of growing flowers and garden foods and stuff like that. And he wondered if he could sell any. So he printed up 3,000 flyers. He got 118 orders. So the business started at that level, nothing. In 1907, he had 700, 800 acres. He had 200 or 300 people working with him. He had a building much, much larger than the Mills Seed Company building. He had a greenhouse where he was hauling 300 tons of coal a year to heat, and he was shipping stuff all over. He was so big, he had his own post office, and he was postmaster. Now, back then, postmasters didn't get paid. They got free shipping, free postage. So he was shipping out $40,000 worth a year. He was doing just okay.
Yeah.
Now, postmasters then were literally appointed by the President of the United States. Changed presidency, lost out. Well, Frank was not a dummy. He got his brother then to be the postmaster, and he kept it all in the family. So in 1907, he sent a letter to the postmaster here in Washington, and we've got a copy of it someplace. He said, I see you got great rail service in Washington. And of course, then we had crossing rail lines. Would anyone there be interested in putting up a building for Mills Seed Company? Perhaps the Western Distribution, or perhaps the whole operation. So the postmaster got a hold of the movers and shakers, and in June, 4 people went to New York, I believe the bankers in town, and they signed a contract, and they came back and put up the building. By September, it was up. It's 100-foot long, 40-foot wide, 45 feet tall. It has 92 windows in it. It's 3 brick thick walls. And by December, it was operational. And so they started sending stuff out of the building there. They printed either here or back there the seed catalogs, anywhere from 250,000 to 600,000 a year they would ship out. Now the seed catalogs, fronts of them were actually works of art, because Frank would have people from students from the university in New York to do the artwork on it. So they're collectible items now.
Okay.
In fact, she was in Smithsonian a few years ago, and there was one there behind the counter. She asked if she could look at it, and they wouldn't let her. And so the beginning of this was in New York. Then it came here. And the business went really great for a while. They had so much stuff going out that they had to put 2 additions on the post office, and then they built a new one right down here in 1916. So we take credit for that new post office for 2 reasons. One is all activity. The other is no one's around it when it was built. So
Yeah.
we're pretty safe. In 1913, they shipped out over 10,000 bushel of seed corn out of that building, all of it grown in Washington County. So it was an economic part of the community. When it was built, it was the largest structure in Washington, and it became a really important part of Washington. Now, it only lasted for a few years. In 1915, 1916, they started running into some problems, and then it was actually sold to another seed company, Bruns, I believe.
Bruns Company, which was actually from Kika County. They had a warehouse selling out of Sigourney,
Okay.
my home turf.
So I
Okay.
think that was about 1919 or 20. They operated, kept the building until 26, I believe. And then the Washington Manufacturing bought it, but it was pretty much vacant, we think. In 1934, then the Kern Company purchased it. Now they printed all sorts of stuff. The main things that they did were tally cards, and we had some here.
Ooh, show and tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these tally cards, these are original containers,
Okay.
packages, new old stock, if you will, were used to play bridge. And bridge was very popular in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so they would print these up, sell them to, typically housewives would hold bridge parties. And so the end thing was to have the appropriate tally cards for that.
Oh, they had something for every season. Look at this. You got July 4th, you got Thanksgiving, Halloween, very popular. And look at the colors of this.
Yeah. Very
This
vibrant.
is 70 years old, something like that.
Probably because there was lead in the ink back then. So don't chew on it, Nick. Okay.
And we actually found, I believe we found the plate to print this one. Is that right?
We might have.
One of these big jack-o'-lanterns, anyway. We actually was still in the building. Not that we can print our own.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And so they did a lot of Valentines. Now, the project of the building was somewhat of an economic development project, and part of the thing that they did was to put a railroad spur running right behind it. And so when the Kern Company had it, then they would load boxcars up with Valentines to be shipped out to various stores and distributors or whatever. I like it compare them to the Hallmark of today. They were a big operation. And so there was a lot going on. We also had the Washington Calendar Company in town, and people would work there seasonal, then come over and work at the Kern Company to do Valentine's and so on. So it provided employment at least at peak time for several years. They did greeting cards. They'd have
Were all these items left in the building?
what we have here. And so as we got into the building, I've got three large panels up there that we put in a frame. And
Triptychs.
they were in stuff like this, they were folded up nice and neat in a box of trash ready to be thrown away.
Oh, wow.
And we think, oh, how much stuff did we not see?
Right.
So, yeah, if you want to show some of those.
Look at this, Diana. Is that something?
Wow. And that's almost 100 years old?
70 anyway.
90? Okay.
50, this says 55.
Okay.
We have some 56 and 57. The tally cards are probably older than the Valentines.
Wow.
I'm just amazed at the color.
The color, yeah. Wow.
Something. Oh, did you want to show them this one, Terry?
Okay, yeah. One of the things I found interesting is they kept copies of every run of printing that they did, and they held them together with shoestrings. If you see on the one side there, they had the eyelets there, they'd run shoestrings through it. This one caught my eye because I was in the Navy and I saw the sailor, and then I'm reading the script for the guy in the Army there.
The Jeep?
Yeah, and it refers to the Axis powers. So there's nothing dated there. So I know that's 1945 or before. And so I'm looking, okay, that's 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
And Jeff Batterson put these behind preservation glass.
Okay.
So anything that we've framed with this preservation glass keeps the UV rays away, and so the colors should maintain for longer than we'll be on this earth.
So do you have these things displayed in Mills Seed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not everything is displayed, but a lot is. So they printed postcards, and there's some cool postcards here, if you like postcards. But it has 1 cent stamp goes here. In 1946, they went to 2 cent stamps. So they couldn't sell these anymore.
Oh.
So we sell them over there to raise money for the building. And I get to the point where I say, okay, they're $1 a piece, for the building. And we're running short because we only have 50,000 or so left. They didn't throw stuff away. It just accumulated. And
Yeah.
it kind of fits in with my personality and hers too as well, to just hang on to stuff. So every time we go through the building and look around at stuff, we find something new, it seems like. And it's fun. It's going back in history in time is just very enjoyable for us.
Yeah.
So how the building came to be that we got involved with. It after the Kern Company, it went through some other owners. There was a guy there who made signs and stuff, plastic signs. And then a guy bought the building just to store stuff in it. And he had a lot of printing equipment in there, Nick. And he claimed to have museums in southeast Iowa. Well, they're all old buildings that were falling down. And he complained to the city because kids were breaking into it and painting stuff on the walls. And I've talked to some of those kids who were in there. And luckily, they didn't destroy anything. I mean, they did some graffiti stuff, but nothing bad. And they could have burned it down real easily. So I'm never mad at them. It's like, okay, I would have done the same thing, except, getting into a building, looking at it. So it got in disrepair. Then in 2009, it got listed on one of the 10 most endangered buildings in Iowa. And they put out a list every year or so. And so that got some attention. And then a house mover bought the building in January of 2010. And he had a contract with Heavy Haulers, a TV show, to film the move. They moved it to where it is now, and that's about 10 blocks. And they hired us to do the masonry work on the building so the bricks didn't fall out. And so I loved the building, but I had no attachment to it. I'm just watching it move. And he got it onto the new foundation, all 92 windows boarded up, and he left town, and he forgot to leave me a check. It just slipped his mind, I'm sure. So I ended up putting a lien on the building. And then 10 years ago, in December of this year, we pushed it to sheriff's sale, and I had the first lien, so I assumed, hey, I'm going to get taken care of. Well, the second lien was the IRS for $493,000. Well, the IRS didn't want the building, but no one behind the IRS on the lanes could pay that off and take the building. So we had to negotiate with them because they had like 4 months to decide whether they wanted the building. When we got into the building, we discovered that one of the 9 supports had not been supported in the basement, and it had dropped into the basement. The roof had come down and water was coming in. So Sandy and I are looking at each other on December 3rd, going, oh my goodness, what do we do? So we propped it up as best we could, and actually discussed with the IRS, okay, if we spend money on this and you take the building, I don't want to lose all of it. And they
Right.
agreed they'd pay me up to $10,000. So they didn't take the building, of course. And so we've worked on the building. We ended up spending nearly $50,000 to jack everything up, put in steel supports, and put in a ramp. And we got some grants from Main Street, Iowa and stuff, or Main Street, Washington. So we did well there. We've done a lot of work on the outside of the building, doing pointing and stuff. There's 92 windows. 70 of them now have glass in it. The other 20 we're going to be working on, but it takes a while.
Yeah.
And just cleaning up there. In the 3rd floor, we literally could not tell what the flooring was until we cleaned it up. I mean, there was so much dirt, envelopes and stuff laying around. You know, somebody walks in now, you're a bad housekeeper. You should have seen it 10 years ago.
Right. Right.
At least there's a path.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking
Yes.
to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have a goal of, okay, here's what we're going to do, except that our philosophy is, okay, this is a beautiful building. It has a neat history. It's extremely unique. It is unheard of to have a building this large that hasn't been bastardized. The 3rd floor, the only thing different up there is that the walls have been painted in steel we put in. There's
We
one,
didn't paint the walls.
right. And
Just to
so
be sure.
it's the same as it was in 1907, basically, plus all the stuff that's in there. And so we want to maintain that. We want to find uses that complement what's there, be able to utilize that. And I don't know, I'm old enough, maybe she's not, to realize that I'm not going to take and change that building into something that it's not. Someone else will probably do that. But we don't want to tear it up. We want to maintain as much of the history as we can and find the usability of it. As we talk to people, we talk about, okay, sustainability is a really critical part of what we're doing. That building is 116 years old. It needs some work, but if you were to tear it down and build another building thinking in terms of energy efficiency, it'd take you 75 to 100 years to pay it back.
Yeah.
There aren't any buildings being built that long. This building will last another century if it's taken care of. And so that's what our goal is. Okay, let's maintain this building. Let's use it as a demonstration of what sustainability is all about. There's about 150,000 bricks, I think, in the walls.
Wow.
Think of all the energy that was used to create that. And all that carbon then has been absorbed by the trees now. So the energy carbon footprint of that building is almost zero. And we want to try to impress upon people to look at older buildings and do that. Downtown Washington has done a fantastic job. Main Street is done really well. And we have people come in and they look at, oh my goodness, this is cool that you got all these buildings and have saved them and put them to use. And so we want to complement that as we're going on. So we take tours through the building. That's, a no cost kind of thing. And it's only when I'm there. We have concerts there. Dan Trillick is going to be July 22nd.
Okay.
We deconstruct buildings. That's one of the things Sandy and I do. We started doing that 10 years ago or whatever. So we save everything we possibly can. And I'm going to let Sandy talk about some of that because she handles a lot of the stuff that we are able to save and pick up along the way, and antiques, vintage items and stuff. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, go ahead.
Well, as you said, the building is 40 wide by 100 deep, and there are a full 2 floors of that is what I consider retail space. The first floor, of course, we've got the event room, where we have the opportunity for people to come in and use it for meeting space. We've had bridal showers, baby showers, anniversary parties, birthday parties, Halloween dance, music series, as Terry spoke of. We started Iowa artists, singer-songwriters performing their own music. We ask that they very seldom include a cover song, so that's great. We hear a lot of talent. We've had a number of artists take advantage of that. We usually have, well, during COVID we didn't do that event, but we've had 4 or 5 artists starting, say, March, running through October and November. The space is available for rent. We also do pop-up events. Very popular these days, are those junking tour events, like Junking Sister Shop Up in September, and we'll also participate in December in that.
Okay.
I occasionally do my own little pop-up, but I am more by appointment if you want to come in and look for something, because you are a creator and you need, you need something. You need whether it's an unusual piece of wood for a canvas for something, or a window sash that you want to frame something in. But the material we harvest out of these buildings that have already been destined and decided that they are going to be landfilled, we attempt to divert as much as we can, hold, and market that. So we have sold, I would say the most popular item is flooring. If you've ever pulled a hardwood floor and de-nailed it, you know what kind of work that is. We take all the sashes we can because we want the cylinder glass, that wavy glass, because Terry has another business that he uses that in to rehabilitate historic windows. And so we've got doors that people make projects out of, or they just put them in their house. Something funky is what we've got, chippy, as they say. So we take about anything you can imagine that a house was finished with is rehomed to our place, and hopefully someone will find it desirous to either create art with, upcycle, or use for its original purpose. I wish I had brought a picture of a leaded glass buffet and cabinetry that we harvested and is rehomed in a Pella home. It is just gorgeous. They didn't even refinish the varnish. Excuse me, was it varnish or shellac?
Shellac.
Shellac, I'm sorry.
He was being very polite. He wasn't gonna say anything.
And that's the kind of pleasure that
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be so rewarding to see those types of things. So.
Or we've got another friend that, as we were deconstructing a house, actually the window, great big windows with leaded glass tops that are narrow, and they have the beautiful designs in them, came out of the house into his van, and he installed them in his home. That's
How do these people find out about you
word of mouth.
and your items?
You,
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, okay. Guerrilla marketing,
Yeah, okay.
right?
Yes.
Word of mouth, friend to friend. We do a few social media posts, but we don't have a marketing person. We don't have a budget for that. So
Yeah.
we're pretty small time mom and pop operation.
Yeah. Well, word of mouth is the best marketing, anyways. So.
Yeah.
We did have an article in Iowa Source back in April that's published in Fairfield, and they did a really nice write-up on what we're doing. And so we've had a half dozen people that have seen that in Fairfield call us up and come up. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of neat.
Yeah. And what are you holding on to?
Oh, well, this just happens to be one of our messages, about sustainability. So when I go to a show, this might be the sign that I put up
Yeah.
just to say what this booth is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can't read it, it does say architectural resources, which is what I call our harvested, reclaimed material.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, Terry does some consulting work as far as historic materials.
Who did the logo for you guys? I like that.
Okay, originally, it was done by Mel Stockwell, Calico Press down by Birmingham.
Okay.
And so she was going to do business cards for us. And we had a group of people who were working with us, all friends helping us. And so, okay, Mill Seed CO, right? And they go, no. You want to spell out company. You don't ever abbreviate it anymore. It's like, no, it's on the end of the building. And so she put this together and did this for us. And,
Yeah, that's
and Jeff Matterson did some of the work. He's the one that does all our neat stuff.
Graphics and
Yeah.
things like that.
We're going to give Mel a shout out. She is a press woman down at Old Threshers. If you go into that section, she rebuilds. She'd be a wonderful interview for you.
All right, sounds good. You hear that, Mount Pleasant Live?
My cousin owns a big print from her that they sell at Old Threshers.
Yep,
He's
there
got
you
it hanging
go.
up in his house.
Excellent.
All right, well, let's head to commercial break, and then I'll wrap up with Sandra and Terry, and we'll have them play the birthday game with us.
Since 1905, Kelowna Cooperative Technology Company has helped our communities stay connected with the latest advancements in clear, dependable telecommunications services. KCTC provides rural Iowans with access to high-speed fiber internet, as well as phone, television, computer repair, and cybersecurity solutions. We're also proud supporters of local organizations and area schools within the community. KCTC, keeping Kelowna connected.
At the Capper Auto Group, we put our customers' needs first and understand that everyone is as different as the vehicle they select. We offer new Ford, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram vehicles in a friendly environment that puts you in the driver's seat. When it comes to service, we maintain factory-trained technicians and competitive pricing. The Capper Auto Group still believes that service after the sale provides the best customer experience. Come see the Capper experience for yourself.
You know, it's not a question of what all you have and so on with your life. It's who is in your life and how much you care for them and how much they care for you. And Tammy definitely cares.
I met Tammy about 20 years ago when her daughter was in Special Olympics and I was coaching. Told me that she was into doing senior benefits. We became even closer friends. She cares about everybody, especially the seniors. So call her.
Welcome back to Washington Live. I'm your host, Diana Rich, joined in the studio with Sandra and Terry, and I've been talking to them about the history of Mills Seed Company and all the cool things that they've got going on over there. For people that don't know, which hopefully they do know, but do you want to describe where the Mills Seed Company is?
Yeah, it's right over there.
Right over there. You heard him.
212 North Iowa Avenue. From Dodici's go north about 2.5 blocks.
Okay.
And if you get to the depot, turn around and come back.
Yeah. If you get to Ryder Sales, also too far, right? Yeah. Turn around. So you mentioned something about some rehabilitating historic windows. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Right. We started doing that as TK Enterprises several years ago, and so I have three people who work here in Washington. I have a couple people who work up in Cedar Rapids because after Duratio, we started working up there as well. Mm-hmm. So we take sashes out of old houses, 100-year-old sashes, bring them back here, take all the glass out, take all the old lead base paint out, repair stuff that needs to be, and sometimes we have to put new stuff in. And when I say new, it's new to that sash. It's old sash that we've taken apart, or we make stuff out of old growth wood. And we refinish it and then take it back and put it back in. And so they operate like they did 100 years ago. Okay. One of the really cool things for me is when the guy who made it 100 years ago, he made it for a paycheck, but he made it to last and to be repaired. Mm-hmm. And so as I'm working on it, or the guy's working on it, we're thinking, okay, this guy made it so I can fix it back up and it can last another 50, 100 years. Yeah. And rehabilitated sashes outperform new replacement windows extraordinarily. If you replace a window in about 20 years, you're looking at replacing again. If you rehabilitate an old sash, you can last, like I say, 50 to 100 years. You got to paint it occasionally and stuff like that, but they last a long time. We put in some weather stripping, some metal tracks and stuff to make them more energy efficient. But wow. it is well worth it if you have an old house that you're wanting to maintain.
Well, I like the fact that it was built in parts, in pieces, like a kit, if you will. And so if a rail goes bad or a stile goes bad, we've got enough stock. We might be able to find a perfect fit without manufacturing from old growth lumber, which we keep out of the floor joists of the houses that we deconstruct. So it was meant to be part replaceable, which today's windows, you cannot buy that.
Right. Wow.
They
And so
never-
this, oh, go ahead.
They never use glue or anything like that, so you can take them all apart. So we have probably 1,000 sashes on the third floor of old sashes that we've collected. We have people just drop them off on the weekends. You know, they've replaced their windows. Okay, take them over to Millseed. Crazy Terry will take them. And
Yeah, how did you get into this? You sound so busy. I feel like we could have 5 shows and talk about all the things that you're doing because it's exhausting, but it sounds awesome.
How we got into this, you know how sometimes women at night don't sleep much? And so I was up surfing the web, and I ran into a salvage house in Indianapolis. It's called Doc's Salvage. And I'm going, wow, look what he's charging for that front door of a Victorian home. I'm going, this is what I'm going to do once I have retirement time. So I didn't know what I was creating. I created not only a hobby, I created a business, I created perpetual rehabilitation. It kind of got crazy, but I don't know, have we taken 20 houses apart?
probably close to that.
Something like that. And we don't always do them start to finish.
Yeah.
It depends on how much time the owner gives us. We go in and get what we can. We've also done a lot of that volunteer work for a couple of other historic preservation groups, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Burlington. So it's not always for us. It's sometimes we donate our labor because we have the skill sets and the equipment. One of the coolest things that we've salvaged was right here in town. 1856. What's the date on the brick?
July 8th.
And it's signed by the guy that created the brick.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that was cool.
I should have brought that.
Yeah.
Exciting.
One of the most rewarding things is people come to us and say, okay, here's a building. Can you salvage it? Some people want to, what can you give me for it, which is very little. But there's a house down, it's no longer there, but down by south of Brighton. And the gentleman came to us and we deconstructed it. I mean, we took it all apart. Floor joists, the whole thing. And so he just called me last week, and he has a couple more items he wants to give us because he knows we'll find a use for them. And so that is so rewarding that somebody wants to see their materials go on.
Yeah.
Now, I grew up in a house built in about 1875, and unfortunately it's in bad shape, so we started taking stuff apart. And part of the flooring matches the school in Vernon, Iowa. It was built in 1868. And Paula Moore needed some flooring, so we took it down there. So the house I grew up in, the floor that we've taken out now is another building that's going to last another 100 years.
Yeah.
And so that's so rewarding to us.
Yeah, very cool.
What was really neat was it was perceived that the forest land that created the hardwood floor for your folks' house was likely the same forest land where the original harvest for that two-floor school in Vernon, Iowa, the proximity was within just a few miles. So when you think about that is also love of the earth, kind of, I'm a tree hugger.
Well, it's all very incredible to hear about. And yeah, very cool.
So you want a job?
I want to come see all the things now. So, all right. Do you want to talk quickly about, you have some buttons there? Do you want to talk quickly
One of the things
about that?
I didn't talk about was they had a button factory in Mills at the same time current company was there. So we have some original buttons, and we have a lot of the blank cards. And typically, women would take these home and sew them on and bring them back. It's piecework. Jeff Batterson's dad worked there 28 years. His mother worked there about 12 years. And so they knew personally about the buttons and how they stained them or whatever, if they were plastic or something like that. there were two button factories in Washington, the American Pearl Button Factory and the Washington Pearl Button Factory.
Okay.
And that's the only two pearl button factories outside of Muscatine. And the reason for that was the railroad that went back and forth. There was a guy who developed and patented a handbrake for wagons, and they would take them back and forth, and so they brought the blanks up here and the shells or whatever to work on. So as we're going through stuff, clutter all over the place when we got the building. And she was picking up cardboard, just kind of like this, and it tore. On the other side of it was a poster about buttons. 90% of all pearl buttons in the world were from Muscatine, I think it was. And so it tore. So we put it back together, and it's been framed and hanging on the wall. And that's probably from 1940s. And so there's little things like that. For us, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
For a lot of people out there, it's whatever.
Nick being the history buff.
Yeah. So
Find it cool too.
before we got involved with it, we were involved on the parameters, if you will. It had to go to the city council to move the building. There was a city councilor literally in the meeting said, take a picture of it and tear it down. And that was the attitude of a lot of people in town. And it was like, okay, this building's worth something. It's not worth dollars to a lot of people, but it has a lot of value to it as far as we're concerned. And I fully expect it to be there a long time after we're gone.
Someone will make a new life venture out of that building. It will become something wonderful. If it's torn down now, all of that history, all that material, all that embedded energy is lost, and it's lost forever. No going back.
Yeah.
So we're saving it for someone.
Yeah. Very good. Very cool. You guys have put a lot of work into it, and it sounds like you guys are doing some awesome things. If people are interested in coming to check out what you guys have going on there, or host an event or anything, they just reach out to you.
Yeah.
We have a Facebook
Okay.
page. Terry's phone is available
Yeah.
pretty much 24/7.
Always ringing. All right. And then July 22nd, if people want to come check out that concert, what's the times?
7:30.
7:30?
And it's bring your own bottle. We don't have a liquor license.
Okay.
I have been known to loan a person a beer or two if they,
Okay.
if they run out. And then Catfish Keith is going to be there on Labor Day weekend.
Okay. And is there a cost to attend concerts?
We like
there?
to have like $15 or something at the door, but we don't charge a ticket.
Okay. Very good.
Something to cover things.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I think you guys should come back on the show, and we should talk more about all of the awesome things you guys are doing, maybe more about the windows, or more about maybe if there's a specific house that you guys are taking apart, and highlight some of the things and get the word out. So
Maybe Nick can go mobile.
there we go. That's
Could
what
be
I was
fun.
thinking. He could put the GoPro on
Yep.
top of his head, but he
Do a
has to
little
be
tour.
attached to an HDMI cord. So.
If we're live, yeah.
So he wouldn't be wireless.
So to get
He'd be
50 foot of
wired.
slack.
Yeah, yeah.
We got a generator. We'll run you power.
Sounds good. All right, and we'll move on to the National Day. It's National Teddy Bear Picnic Day.
Yep. So take your teddy bear on a picnic.
All right, sounds
Well,
good.
I've got a collection of Boyd's Bears over in the middle, so it sounds like I'm ready to
Yep.
go.
There you go.
Gotta take them all. Don't want one to be
These
left out.
National Days, I tell you, they're always they're always interesting. So, and then Terry and Sandra are gonna take their first shot at the famous birthday game.
Yes, I'm gonna put a celebrity whose birthday is today on the screen. You have to guess their age. If you're within 3 years, you get a point. If you get it right on, you get 2 points.
You guys can be a team guess, or you can just go solo.
I'm gonna make this one way bigger. It is Sofia Vergara in Modern Family. Cannot think of anything else she's acted in.
Go ahead, Sandy. I'll let you do
42.
All
Are
right.
you guys competing as a team or as individuals?
I'll let her go. Okay.
I'm terrible, so you know what thinks of
I
his
have not
guts.
seen Modern Family. I do not know this lady.
No, I don't do celebrity anything.
I'll do 39.
She is 51.
Wow, she looks great.
Give me her regimen.
Next up, we have the football player Antonio Brown. He has some behavioral issues.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I know him because of that.
So I don't know if he's currently on a roster, but he's a wide receiver.
So you're not going to give me a hint as to how old that picture is, are you?
Well, his most recent team was the Buccaneers. Like I said, he has some behavioral issues. May have gotten kicked off the team.
I'll go 33.
I'm going to go 29.
I'll say he's older than that. I'll give you 35.
35. And Terry's going 29.
He is 35.
35. So I got 1. Sandy got
2.
2 points because she was right on.
Yep. Next up, we have Jessica Simpson. Where
I was like,
that's
no,
not
who Jessica Simpson.
This is Jessica Simpson, the singer, model. What else does she do?
Oh, women can mask their age quite well if they work at it.
I'm going to go 44.
44.
Well, she doesn't have much crow's feet, and she doesn't have much laugh lines. Of course, Botox can do wonders for a woman's face.
I'll go 40.
48.
She is 43. So Diana, you've tied it up. We're at 2-2-1.
Terry got a point for that.
Yep. Next up, we have.
You notice he's better at the women dressing.
Next up, we have Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, but has recently started to get his own acting gigs. He's in the new Marvel shows. Trying to think what else he's in.
39.
37.
32.
He is 37. So
Sandy,
Sandra
look at you.
coming in. We're at 4-2-3. So what'd you say, Terry? You said
He said 39.
39. So yeah, so we're at
Terry has 3. Sandra
has
has
4,
4.
and you
and
have
I
2.
have 2.
Well, this is our bonus round. This is our least famous person, so it's worth double points. So technically, the game's still wide up in the air. It is Jennifer Terrazana, who was on 90 Day Fiance season 3.
Another show
Yeah,
I
see
don't
that?
watch.
Yeah, I know, same.
I don't know if anyone here and I don't even know if it was the American version of 90 Day Fiance.
27.
32.
I'm going to go 39 again.
Oh, she's not near that old.
She is 29. So
Oh, she's going to shoot us all.
yeah, double points. So that's 2 points, 2 points. So I think, Sandy, you have won.
Nice.
He said you were going to lose, and look at you. You've
I
won.
don't do celebrity. And
You've won by 1 point, I believe, if my math is correct.
Okay.
I believe my math matches yours.
Yes.
So congratulations. We used to have plastic trophies, but we don't
I have yet to
anymore.
order them.
So you can just carry around the joy in your heart.
One other detail, since KCTC keeps coming up,
Yeah.
we were the 5th customer here in town to get fiber optics at Mill Seat.
And isn't that just such a blessing to have that resource here in town?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
We,
So
I-
we have the new with the old.
Very good. Well, I didn't have any internet at my house, and KCTC came to the rescue, and I'm thankful for that. So,
go.
anyways, well,
Especially rurals.
yeah.
And we're also very thankful because they sponsor this show.
So thankful. So thank you.
Oh, do they? I didn't know.
Is that why their logo's everywhere? All right. Well, thanks for coming in today,
you.
Terry and Sandra, and
So much.
yeah. Thanks for joining us today on Washington Live. We hope you have a great Monday.